Welcome to Yeukai Business Show, UK's premier business show where we feature business thought leaders, high achievers, and industry experts. Today's episode is brought to you by World Outsourcing Solutions Limited, a company that specializes in helping executive business owners with virtual assistant services and business growth systems. Here's your host.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the show. It's Trevor Stockwell here with you again, and I'm excited to be able to chat with our guest today. I have the pleasure of introducing a lady who started her career in television news, but later transitioned to become a business owner and a dynamic communications leader who understands the importance of taking risks. More on that a little later. She's also the author of 2 books and the founder of the Woman of Power Conference, which trains over 500 leaders. Welcome, Raquel Eatmon.
Thank you, Trevor. It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. It's great to have you with us today. So let's just start. Lots of things we could talk about in your illustrious career so far. But just maybe at the start, just give us a bit of background about kind of who is Raquel. I know you didn't necessarily start out to run your own business straight away. So yeah, just kind of get us up to speed a little bit as to how all that came about.
Absolutely. So I'll start with passion and I think purpose. Growing up in a small town in Ohio, in America, and I, loved everything about my community, but it really was an impoverished community. And very often those types of communities are overlooked, which means sometimes, city crews didn't come out to shovel snow or pick up the trash. It was like we were the forgotten community. I did learn a lot about leadership because the people of that community came together to do what some city officials didn't do. But still, I felt like this isn't fair. And I had friends who were wealthier living on the other side of town, and I could see how their city workers were taking care of them. Every single need they had, it was taken care of. So what this did was it inspired me. I said, once I grow up, I'm going to figure out a way to shine a light on disenfranchised communities. So there is where I fell in love with becoming a journalist, because I thought, once I get a voice or a platform, I can share my voice and shine a spotlight on people who need help, but for whatever reason, they're just not getting the answers. So I did that, studied journalism in college, and finally found my way into television news. And Trevor, by the time I got there, everything that I thought I knew about the news was different. It was so disappointing because it wasn't so much that we were servicing communities. We were chasing down what the news industry says, if it bleeds, it leads. So we were chasing down the worst thing that happened in your world overnight. And I would show up, first thing in the morning. If I was anchoring, I'm in full makeup and full hair by 4 a.m., only to deliver bad news. And that caused a problem for me because it was sort of like just becoming a talking head. And I was raised in a family that taught me to contribute the best way that I could to this world. And for me, that wasn't the contribution I wanted to make. Yet I stayed in it 10 years. I progressed very quickly. I moved into the market of Dallas, Texas. It's a top market here in the country. And I worked for CBS. And I just stayed in it, and I kept pitching ideas of how can we have a franchise that's community oriented? How can we have breaking news that appeasing people who feel like they just don't have a voice? And I just wasn't able to get any news directors to bite on, what I thought would be good for communities. Like, oh, Raquel, nobody wants to hear those stories. Yet when I'm out in the field covering those stories, people would always ask, why can't you cover some of these other stories? Like, we have an all-girl program and they're all studying to become astronauts. Why can't you cover these stories? I'm like, I know it's not me. It's sort of the powers that be. And I finally got myself into a main anchor position in Alabama. And I met, I guess it's a force to be reckoned with. I had a manager who would question me between my news breaks. He would call me on the news desk. There's a phone there, and he would ask me, Raquel, why are you wearing your hair on that side? Why are you wearing that color of lipstick? And are you saying the or the, a or and that kind of challenge? And I thought, this really isn't what I want to do any longer. So you don't have to question hair or lipstick color. I'm out of here and I'm going to figure out something else. So that was the boiling point for me, that it came down to what I looked like, small, I don't know if they were dialect issues for him, but I didn't feel like I was really contributing at all. So I walked away from all of it, Trevor, and I did not have a plan. I thought I was taking a sabbatical. The sabbatical ended up with a recession. A recession just wiped, as prepared as I thought I was, it just wiped everything out. And I said, okay, you sink or you swim. And I decided to swim. And I thought, I'll start a business. And I had no business starting a business because I didn't know how to start a business. But I found a lot of people who knew how to do it. I leaned on a lot of free resources. I built my network, and my goodness, here we are 12 years later, and I am a business owner and I've paved my way. So that's the longer version of the story. I meant to tell you the shorter version, but you're
fine. Yeah.
A lot of ebb and flow to the transition of leaving what many people would consider a really fantastic job, paid very well, and coming from humble beginnings such as like I did. I think the money also inspired me too, which should never be our inspiration to keep a career.
Yeah.
But now I see that I'm making this contribution that I always dreamed of, and I know that my grandparents would be extremely proud of me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's funny, as you were saying, well, maybe funny is not the right word, but as you were saying that, I was thinking about just again the importance of good leadership. So you had a boss that kind of was just undermining you with, the small kind of things compared to what your role was, just small details, which were probably biases of his own rather than sort of the corporations. But through that, they lost an individual. So they now have to go through the recruiting process and get somebody else and, on and on. But leadership either really encourages people and empowers them, or from my experience, you get the micromanagers that just, they have their own agenda. They don't really see people as people. Is that your experience as well?
Yes, it is. It's interesting because television news is a communication business, yet we were some of the worst communicators in the business. I mean, it was unbelievable. At least that's been my experience. And I still have friends that are in the business. They love it. They've worked for fantastic people. I once had a supervisor who was in Dallas, and he was fantastic. He actually gifted me a really brilliant leadership book and encouraged me. But, my time with him was limited. So I went from kind of like this great leader to a person who was leading in all the wrong ways.
Yeah.
And it can be disempowering, especially if you have to be on camera and you're talking to residents of a town and you're new in town and they're judging every single thing about you. You would think that a leader would say, let's comfort our anchors to make sure that they're healthy, they're happy, they're ready to perform. And you can do this in the workplace too. Let's comfort our leaders or our high potentials. Make sure they have the tools that they need, because the better they do, the better we all do.
Yeah.
But oftentimes that's not what leaders are thinking. And perhaps some are perfectionist, and we know about perfectionism. It just doesn't exist. Yeah. But I do think that this particular manager wanted me to be perfect. And, for the life of me, I just could not. I'm an African-American woman with really thick hair. If you ask me to show up every single day looking the same way, it is impossible. It's possible for Beyonce, to do it and have the beautiful hair flowing, but she has a whole team to do that. It's just not manageable or practical for me. And I didn't want my hair to get in the way of becoming, someone that people could depend on. I mean, my hair doesn't speak for me. So, leaders really should empower their team to be the absolute best. And how do you do that? You need to make sure they have what they need. You've got to provide a safe workspace, encouragement, empowerment. It's not coddling, but it's just making sure that people are okay and that they're validated. I mean, every single person wants to be validated. And if you can do that, my goodness, your team is going to be amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. And that your productivity increases, therefore the leader, looks good as well. More chance of hitting their targets and be successful in their role as well. It's short-sighted, isn't it, to be a leader that just doesn't empower other people on their team to sort of take responsibility, to encourage them to step up and give them enough space to be who they are, their version of how they would fulfill the role rather than the leader's version. As you can tell, it's a passionate point of mine. Let's pause that for the moment, just because I kind of like to talk to you about the area of risk that you mentioned. So you are, I think I'll be right in saying this, you're passionate about helping people kind of manage risk in the right way, but not let risk stop them from doing what they need to do. What would you say, particularly from the perspective of business owners, from your experience, do we kind of take the right level of risks?
I don't think we do. And I'm speaking from experience. I'm able to look at my life, both personally and professionally, and see, where I've taken the most risks and how that has affected my business. I can also look back. I journal everything. So I can also look back and say, okay, Raquel, you were operating out of fear. And let's see what the cost of that was. So every year I do a reflective journaling, and I'm able to just look from year to year, or even, the end of each month. I'm able to look at where was I emotionally, and how did that affect me as far as someone that's growing, and how does it affect the business, the bottom line, like on that, the money, how is that affecting it?
Yeah.
So as I talk to other professionals, other business leaders, I'm seeing people are wasting so much time putting together the plan. And the plan is now getting in the way of taking action. And I have, 3 fantastic business owners. They're women. And each one of them are saying, I'm going back to college. I just need this one more degree. It's not for me to say, okay, look, you have 2. You have 2. But like, it's at what point are you going to say, look, I'm enough. I'm enough as I am. Let's get into this business, start taking the risks that we need to take. I don't know if another degree is going to qualify you to take on more risk, or are you just buying time? And that's kind of a way to kind of live in your comfort zone a little bit longer. And here at 2020, I mean, it's been one of those years where now you feel very vulnerable, but you have to take even more risks because everybody is clamming up and people are frightened. They don't know what to do. Yeah. So I think as business owners, we will feed ourselves all kinds of lovely excuses to stay comfortable, like COVID is happening and I need to do, yes, COVID is happening. And in my line of work, now I really have to work harder to help people take on more risk, because a lot of other people are stopping, and there's so many incredible opportunities for us to make more business contacts and connections and help more people get into the organizations that we need to be in to make sure people are okay. Yeah. But this is when we really clam up, when the world changes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think a lot of it's perspective, isn't it? It really is. Like, are we looking at it from okay, COVID's not nice. The whole scenario is not good. People are suffering in lots of ways. But the flip side of that, there's always 2 sides, isn't there? And if you look with the right kind of perspective, you will see opportunities where you can help people. The byproduct of that, in a lot of ways, will be you'll reach more people, your business will be more successful. But if you go from the perspective of things are getting worse, or I can't do this now because, like you say, COVID also becomes another excuse for me to put off leaving my comfort zone and doing the thing which deep down I kind of know I need to do, but it just doesn't feel quite as safe to do that now because of all of this. It can be just another excuse, can't it, from what you're saying? So how would you? I think you're exactly right on that. We talk a lot on the show about mindset and what's the right kind of mindset for business owners to have, particularly at this time, but just at any point really. And I know you have a passion kind of predominantly to help women. So what would you say would be a good perspective for business owners to take at this point? If it's like, yes, there is opportunity here, I guess, because Raquel said there was. How can I take a step towards taking hold of those opportunities?
Yes, there are so many opportunities. Like, Trevor, just a quick sidebar. I have done a lot of keynote speaking the past 10 years, and that's been a major part of my business is executive coaching, keynote speaking. All of it's been in person. I did not do any virtual events. This year, I had to change my business to virtual meetings. I don't like it. Yes, it's fine because I don't have to travel as much, and traveling can be stressful. But when I am trying to gauge if my audience, if they're connected, I can't see if somebody's tapping like their feet or, rubbing their knees because they're nervous or they're tired or they're not engaged with what I'm saying. So, because of that, I've had to come up with a different questionnaire to send over to the meeting planners and make sure that I'm getting something back from the team. Like, what do you really want? What's your interest? I'm asking different questions. I'm trying to find ways to deepen connections because now we're going virtual. I'm also opening up and letting those people know more about me before they meet me so that maybe we can establish a connection before that versus when you do a keynote and you have a chance to come into an organization, people have a sense of who you are. So there's lots of ways, and I don't want to call it pivoting because I'm hearing that so much this year. A lot of people are pivoting, but I'm staying in my lane. I'm doing the same thing that I was doing, but I've just got a different platform. I do have to shift to enjoy the virtual experience. And how do I make that experience the most meaningful engagement that audience is going to have? So yeah, I'm working a little harder by changing or shifting questionnaires. How can we measure the change after this keynote or this, facilitating a panel? You're thinking more, but I think that's a great thing that we're figuring out. Okay, people are distancing. That can be a lonely space to be in. We have moms who are at home and their kids are at home. Like, how can I reach her for 90 minutes for this one keynote event that we're doing? So it is causing me to think differently. And I think that's a good thing that we might have to shift, not so much pivot, but shift how we think, how we feel about our audience. I am now more connected to people that I don't know than I have ever been because I'm thinking about them in a different capacity. What are their needs? How are they feeling? We're having an issue with a lot of employees being at home that are depressed, fearful, feeling a lot of different things. And maybe at work that stuff was there, but it just didn't show up because we often show up in mask in front of other people.
Yeah.
But it certainly has been a lesson in humanity, and that if that doesn't soften your heart and help you to engage with people more, I don't know what will.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. So let me just ask you, from a woman in business. So I have a slightly different perspective on that, not being a woman. I can understand from a male perspective that sometimes men are the worst culprits to not giving women space, not giving them, equality, feeling threatened by them, maybe all kinds of different things. So I'd be interested to know from your experience, because you're a business lady, but also because you're very good at reaching ladies that are in business and empowering them to kind of take the next step to become better people. What would you say is the biggest challenge at the moment, maybe for ladies that are in business or kind of are just about stepping into business?
That's a loaded question. All right, ladies, don't be upset with me when I say this. But this is what I have learned to be true. And please know that this is coming from a lot of research, interviewing business leaders, high-level executives, writing 2 books, just really my hands are in the research as well as my own experience.
Yeah.
I want women to know that men are not in our way. We are in our way. The history of women in business is still in our way. Not understanding our self-worth, not understanding the confidence to ask. It's just so many things that we're not talking about in this space that we need to talk about. I've been in some organizations where, I'm training men and women to become stronger risk takers, become more compassionate leaders. And I cannot tell you how many times I've gone in and, there could be a recent job post, which is really a promotion. And how many men go knock on the door of the CEO? Hey, I see this. Can we talk about it on the golf course? I'm really interested. And women are saying, no, I think I need to do, one more thing. The next time this promotion comes on, I'll be ready. And what we're learning as I talk to the CEOs, most of the men are unqualified. They have like 5 of the traits out of 10 or 15. And the women who are qualified are not knocking on the door. And that really inspired me to take a look at why are we so afraid or timid when it comes to going in for the promotion. And that promotion can be in a corporation or starting our business or taking our business to the next step. So I really think that, and I have been in my own way. I've used the excuse, I'm a woman. People aren't ready for a woman to talk about this topic yet, or whatever that is. But that's part of being a disruptor. You have to get people ready. You have to get yourself ready. So that's the number one culprit. I think that's why society might see women as, second in line, third in line to take on a leadership position, when really we have what it takes. This is why we need more risk takers to start doing it, because the faster we do it, the younger women, currently teenagers, they'll see more women everywhere. It's like, oh, this is the norm.
Yeah.
It has to become the norm. And the only way we make it the norm is by taking the risk, which means knowing what you're worth, having the confidence to plow through doors. I don't knock on doors anymore. I'm just kind of like sick of it. So you plow through it. And once it's open, you let others know there's opportunity here, and you try to help other people. And that's the second part. Let me quickly say, we're not giving to others enough. Once you're in a leadership position, you have to share that. You have to share what you've learned. You have to help other people along the way. It's not all about Raquel. It's not all about my business, Rising Media. Who do I help along the way? And I currently have a challenge where I'm mentoring 10 young African-American women. I'm mentoring them for 10 years. And whatever they need from me for a 10-year period, they have it. And that's a big piece of giving back.
Yeah. Okay, so not just clarifying that. So it's not one lady each year for 10 years. It's the 10 ladies over a 10-year period. Is that
correct?
Wow.
And we schedule it. And you can imagine that some of them, they're starting out like 17 through 21 years of age, which was an age I wish I had a mentor. My life would have been probably very different through my 20s. But some of them fall off at times, but they know this lifeline is open for 10 years. So I may talk to 2 young women every single month, regularly, and others may come up, once in 90 days. Or if I haven't heard from them in a certain period of time, I have to reach out to make sure they're okay. And with COVID, some have moved, some have lost their jobs. So I've had to reel these women in to make sure they're okay. So I have 10 little mini me's running around the country that I just want the absolute best for. It just warms my heart. And I think that they're helping me more than I'm helping them, which is a really interesting thing that happens when you decide to help other people. You're helped along the way.
Yeah. I think that also helps us kind of keep the perspective right, that it's not all about me. It is actually about other people as well. I don't know about you, but the challenge I find is the more that I focus on how to promote what I can do in how I can help people, there's a slight danger that the shift becomes too introspective. And I've got me on my mind a lot more than I should have, rather than the people that I'm actually trying to reach. So yeah, no, it's interesting that you say it that way. So let's just take one step back briefly, because I kind of wanted to ask you the other part of the question with regards to, from a male perspective, how can guys maybe that are in business that are listening to this, how can we kind of help ladies step up, if that's the right terminology? Let me reword this. What is it that men are doing in the workplace that doesn't give ladies that same platform that maybe another male colleague would automatically get?
Mm-hmm. Excellent question, Trevor. So what I am finding within corporations, so there are a lot of women in leadership initiatives sprouting up in corporations all over the place. And they have various meetings and panel discussions. I am seeing more men attend those events. And when you ask them why, which I have, they are saying, hey, I realize there's a problem. I don't understand why there's a problem, but I'm here to learn. So anytime somebody is going in with the intention of learning and wanting to be better, that's a win. And especially if that person is working with a team, or maybe they're, an executive, they start to lead differently because they've learned something differently. They've learned something different. So if you're at a meeting and you're the man that's heading that meeting, and you notice that women are rather quiet, they're not contributing to the conversation, you can then open the door. Like what do you think, and how does this work from a female perspective? So then you're starting to allow women to share more and more and more. And of course, the more we do something, the more comfortable we get. But I think allowing women to have that voice within the organization, and if you're at the top of the organization or in HR or diversity and inclusion, and you don't have a women's leadership initiative happening, start one and make it known that men are always welcome to come in, listen. You don't have to say a word, or if you'd like to contribute and ask questions, that would be fantastic. So that's how I think that men can help. And when you're comfortable and you have a female colleague and you're at the water cooler and you're able to say, hey, let me ask you this question about a story that I saw about women in leadership and one of the culprits for women in leadership. Ask her take. I think that a lot of women are really ready to talk about it and share with their male colleagues. I have a lot of hope for this change happening.
Absolutely. Yes, myself included. I went down the gender question, didn't I, there? We come out of it all right, though, didn't we? Yeah, I think it's a conversation that needs to happen more, doesn't it? I think so that both sides benefit. Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Definitely. Okay. because you've got a background in TV as well, I'd be keen to get your perspective on, like, for business owners that maybe weren't doing video marketing beforehand. There's lots of things you could share because of your expertise with speaking, and maybe we should get you to come back on another show to discuss about that in more detail. But just for people that may be in that comfort zone of, I just don't do video marketing kind of thing, whilst you can be successful without it to some extent, there is a benefit to having it if it's done right. I know that you make good use of it as well. So what would be just maybe a couple of tips that would get people or help people get from not doing any, staying in the comfort zone, to actually, I need to take some risks. Raquel said I need to take some risks more. What would be a couple of pointers that you could share that would kind of help people maybe change the perspective or just take the step in that direction?
Yes, video is super important to me. And I would be on video today, but I'm having home renovations here. So my apologies if somebody's looking at this versus listening, that you can't see me, but any other time I'm on. And if you take a look at my YouTube channel, my form of video is super simple. It is a cell phone, and I'm giving a tip of the day. And I purposefully did this. I started doing this 2 years ago. I was in a production studio, and it looked very well produced, so much so that I thought it would intimidate people. So I changed it up. I'm home, and there's a ring light. I use it sometimes depending on what's happening with, our gray days here in Ohio. But don't let the technology trip you up. One, very simple. If you're going for a walk, take your cell phone. If you have a thought, which exercise generally will do that, it'll cause us to think, a little differently with a lot of things happening in the brain when we're exercising. Pull it out and just 60 seconds, talk about your tip of the day. Now, if you don't post this, then somebody has missed your tip of the day. If you don't post it because it needs to be edited or you misspoke, get over yourself. And nobody's judging that harshly, like that news director that I had. So just make it super simple. Don't worry about the production quality. And you should do something every day so that it's like working out a muscle. The more you work that muscle, the better the form gets. I mean, you get better at it each time. But probably most importantly, and maybe I should have said this first, is that when you make that connection, you're looking at your cell phone, you're looking through that camera. Imagine who you're talking to. Imagine what they're doing, how they're feeling. Who's your client? What's going on with your client? So you'll need to do a little research. What's happening with my clients right now? And speak directly to him or her. And it's like you're having a conversation. It's like, hey, Trevor, I have a tip of the day for you about, women and men in business. And how do we deepen the connection? So I just come straight to you. I don't need to change the tone of my voice. I don't need to sound anything other than like Raquel. Yeah. And we'll have this conversation, and hopefully that connection is made. And you can do a video that's 60 seconds. You can do a video that's 5 minutes. Just get your message out there. And I would really think about posting videos so that people see your face, they hear your voice, they're establishing a connection. And you're the person that they come to for that tip of the day on, increasing sales or building a better network, whatever your topic is. And there's so many ways you can connect through those topics. So number one, don't worry about production quality. Just get it done. And number two, certainly connect in your authentic voice to your client. Know who your clients are. And I think that's what really makes videos successful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think there is the danger if you head for the too glossy side of it, it becomes very surfacey and shallow, doesn't it? And you don't really connect with the audience that in the way that you really want it. They don't think you're kind of human and that you've walked the same path, that maybe they're struggling on certain things as well. So no, that's really good. So just briefly on that before we have to wrap this up for today, but YouTube, Facebook Live, both, neither? Does it depend kind of what you're in? What's the,
Oh my goodness.
on the spot,
So I have,
we're
yeah,
not either, so fine.
I have a Facebook account. Um, for some reason, it just doesn't feel good to me to be on that forum any longer. I don't know why. I'm still trying to figure that out. I do spend quite a bit of time on LinkedIn. I love the quality of the content in my news feed, and I will just throw up a video of the day, and I engage with people. It's very easy to do it there. Twitter is easy, YouTube is easy, but what I have found, Trevor, is um, we never know when these social sites are going to just go down. I mean, it seems like they'll be around forever, but the truth is, and as a business owner, you have to think this way. If I lose my 50,000 followers on, Instagram and Twitter and all of these things combined, how do I reach them? So what I have done is on my website, which I have control over, when people subscribe to that website and you receive the newsletter, but I know that I have like a list saved in Google Drive and a few other places that I'll always have those connections. And then I move those over to my hard drive once a month. I want to make sure that the audience that decided to follow me, that I'm going to be in touch with them for as ever long as this business is standing.
Yeah.
So I try to grow organically there, but I also use the social media platforms because they're free, and it's another very easy, simple way to reach your audience. I know some people that use Facebook Live and they love it, and they have, a lot of followers, and they've invested time and money there. It just hasn't worked for me, and I haven't forced that.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Yeah, there is kind of a different feel to certain things, like you say, and yeah, you find what works for you as an individual business and your audience, and then you go with that, don't you? But I think there's a very key point about controlling the platform that you're on as much as you can as well. We'll say it with like financial investments, like diversify, don't put all your eggs in one basket, and to have a couple of different kind of streams that you communicate with people, I think it is key as well. You mentioned your newsletter. Tell us very briefly about your newsletter. How could people get kind of subscribe to that first?
Sure. Thank you for the opportunity to share that. So this newsletter is really all about risk taking. I talk about what I call risk readiness, just building on topics that are important for people to take more risks. If you're going to move slowly or you want to move fast, it's totally up to you. So at RaquelEatmon.com, that's RaquelEatmon.com, there is a subscribe button at the top of the page. And you simply go in and put in your name and email address. And this is a complimentary service that I want to offer because it's a video, it's content, and maybe, 3 things to think about, three steps to take, 3 things to put in your tools. So I'm constantly trying to feed our risk takers and myself at the same time, because not every day is the same. Some days I don't feel like I can take the biggest risk. So you can subscribe to that every Sunday while you're having your mid-morning coffee, or my preference is cup of tea. I'm hoping that we're all doing that together, and really contemplating like, what risk am I taking tomorrow, which would be Monday if you're reading it on a Sunday. And every single day I'm challenging people to do something to move toward that stronger sense of self. So I would love to have all the listeners just go on over and subscribe to that. It'd be fantastic to have you.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that sounds good. I'm going there after the show. That's brilliant. Thank you, Raquel, for your time. Yes, time has caught up on us for today, but everything you shared has been valuable, and I know there's a lot of takeaways that our audience can kind of grab, even if to start with they just pick 1 or 2 things and really start to implement it. There's lots they can take hold of to progress and move forward. So thank you for sharing with that. There will be a link to your website below in the podcast, so people can follow from there. And to everyone that's listening as well, I would encourage you, definitely sign up to the newsletter. I think risk is such a key thing that can be a benefit to us if we manage it properly. but it can also be the thing that hinders us from stepping out and to really realize the potential that we have within us. I think there's a lot more there that we haven't tapped into, but maybe that's a discussion for another day. Let's wrap it up for now. Thank you, Raquel, for sharing with us again today. And I look forward to having another conversation with you at some point.
Thank you, Trevor. It was an honor. Thank you very, very much.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And to everybody else, yes, have a great day, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to Yeukai Business Show. We will be back to bring you more episodes with success stories and advice straight from the experts. Want more? Check out www.yukaibusinessshow.com. Get your free trial of our virtual assistant service today. Just visit www.worldoutsourcingsolutions.com. Quote WOS18 or send us an email at support@worldoutsourcingsolutions.com.